effective leaders write 5 handwritten notes a week. I just got done reading a book of a gentleman whose life was in the toilet. His business was going nowhere. He's been through two marriages. He was estranged from his kids, and he's going on a walk on New Year's Day, and he heard a voice. And of course, you know where that voice comes from. And the voice said, "Be appreciative. Your life is a gift." And he sat down, and he thought, what is it that I can do to respond to that voice? And he decided to write 1 thank you note a day for a whole year. Kept track of who he was writing to. And what do you think happened? You tell me the end of that story. His life turned around. See, we create our lives by the things that we pay attention to. Whatever you pay attention to, you get more of. Whatever you pay attention to, you get more of. That's why they call it good news. Jesus always looked for that which was good. Think about the good stuff in our lives. All the things that you and I can be grateful for, appreciative of. The opportunity that's presented to us. All the sacrifices that people have made so that we can enjoy the lives that we enjoy. When you have good stuff happen to you, what do you got to do, Jim? You got to tell other people to it. What did Pat get up and tell us? The good stuff in his life. Talk about the good stuff. We create our world, our communities, our workplaces by what we talk about. 6 years ago, the last week of January, I had one of those moments of real good stuff. When you have a moment like that, you don't forget it and you have to tell other people about it. I was over in Appleton, Wisconsin, speaking at the Paper Valley Inn to the graduates of a terrible university. They called it Tom and Earl Show. They'd send us both out and we'd tell them about all the good things happening at the university. But 6 years ago, in the last week of January, it was just a Tom show. Because Earl, who had been my student, and then became my colleague, and then became my supervisor, and then became my best friend, 40 years of age, was at home battling stage 4 liver cancer. So I went and I gave this presentation. You know what that's like. You've all gone to work with a broken heart. You've all had to put away personal pain because you had to meet the needs of other people. Hemingway says this, courage is grace under pressure. How many times have you demonstrated courage and grace in the workplace? Because that blessed you. Because that was what was expected of you. So I gave it my best shot. Now it's 8 o'clock at night. All I've had are hors d'oeuvres. I haven't had supper. Don't have a place to stay. Have to go to Fond du Lac the next day. I'm walking through the lobby of the Paper Valley Inn. I bump into a gentleman. "Excuse me, sir." "Mark! Tom! It's my brother Mark. He's a year younger than I am. He's the district attorney of Adams County." I hope that none of you have ever met him. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm here for the state DA convention." He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm giving a talk for Terrible." I said, "What are you doing now?" He said, "I go to Subway and get a sandwich." I said, "We're old enough. Let's go to the tavern." We went in, we sat down, we had a sandwich, we had a beverage. He looks at me, he says, "Where are you staying tonight?" I said, "I don't have a place to stay." He says, "Why don't you stay with me? The state's already paid for a room. If you don't mind sleeping with me in a king-size bed." "Not at all," I said. Went and got my stuff, came up to his room. We're talking for a little bit. It's time to go to bed. We both got up, took our medication. That time of life. We jump in bed with each other. He turns off the light, and instantly we're 12 and 11 again. The last time we had slept in the same bed, we're 12 and 11. We're giggling, we're laughing, we're snorting. You know, just like 12 and 11-year-old boys do. And then in the dark of the night, he begins to talk about our grandmother Florence. In 1937, our grandfather was hit and killed by a trolley car in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, leaving my grandmother with 5 children under the age of 11 in the midst of the Depression. A single-parent businesswoman in the midst of the Depression. 51st and Center, she had a little beauty shop in Milwaukee. She lived above in a rented apartment. In the morning she'd come down and she'd carry her 9-month-old, my Aunt Janet, put her into a crib. She'd cut hair from 8 until 10. At 10 o'clock she'd nurse her baby. Her friend had given birth to twins and wasn't strong enough to nurse her own babies, so the father of the twins brought him down, and at 10 o'clock she nursed 3 babies. She cut hair until noon, she nursed 3 babies. She cut hair until 3, she nursed 3 babies. She cut hair until 5, when she closed up, she nursed 3 babies, and then she went upstairs and took care of the rest of the family. Talking about a strong woman here. When I was growing up in Wisconsin Rapids, my mother was not in good health, so my grandmother would come 1 week every summer. And she'd sew, and she'd iron, and she'd organize things that my mother didn't have the strength to do. And at 5 o'clock at night, she'd come upstairs and go upstairs and put on a dress and come down, for she was always a lady. Taught us how to make a brandy old-fashioned sweet. Then taught us how to play sheephead. And then gave us good cards. Because she always wanted the best for us. When my brother went to law school, he'd come home at 11 o'clock at night, and there would be a plate of food warming in the oven. We talked about our mom and our dad. Dad's been dead for 15 years now, and Mom's been gone for 7. We talked about our uncles and aunts. We talked about our cousins. We talked about our brothers and sisters. We talked about our wives. We talked about our children. We talked about our friends and our co-workers and the good work that God has given us to do these last 40 years. And in the dark of the night, we were reminded that we've been loved for a lifetime. The good stuff. The good stuff. Pay attention to the good stuff. With the person right next to you right now, tell them about some of the good stuff in your life right now. With the person sitting right next to you, what's some of the good stuff in your life right now? Audience participation.